Good evening, church. I would like to welcome you all to our virtual Pathfinder week of prayer with the theme, Go with Jesus. At this point in time, we're going to have our opening song, Oh, Let Me Walk With Thee.
We'll be singing 554 S.D.A. Oh, let me walk with thee.
So our choristers for today were Imba and Ira, and I'm Luko Manoyo, superintendent for today, and our preacher for today will be Temba. At this point in time, we're going to listen to our sermon for today.
Good evening, church. The title of our sermon today is going to be, Go and Tell Them. Jesus was with his disciples when they crossed over the Sea of Galilee into the region of the Gerasenes. After Jesus' great miracle of calming the sea in the sight of his disciples, they had been amazed by the power over the nature, and they landed onto the shore. Oh, and behold, in the region of the Gerasenes, there again met another fearful situation. This time, it wasn't the agitation of the sea that cannot talk, but an uncontrollable man who was demon-possessed. Let's turn our Bibles to the book of Mark, chapter 5, verse 1 to 5. When they crossed the sea into the region of the Gerasenes, when Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure soul came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, even with chains. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but tore those chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs in the hills, he would cry and cut himself with stones. The disciples of Jesus got into a panic mode at the sight of this man. He came from the tubes where he used to reside and charged at them. The disciples scrambled into different directions because of the presence of this fearful danger. That gave them more fear than the raging sea. Ellen White says, the disciples and their companions fled in terror, but presently they noticed that Jesus was not with them, and they turned to look for him. He was standing where they had left him. Desire of Ages, page 337. However, instead of charging or harming the man of God, the demonic possessed suddenly fell to his feet and cried, "What do you want from me, Jesus, the Son of the Most High God? In his name, don't torment me." Dear listeners, today I have noticed that this man that was demonic possessed acknowledged God, even if he never physically saw him. Indeed, the Apostle James confirms that even the demons do believe and have a fear at the sight of the Master of the universe. Of course, it's just the fear of their impending judgment and undeniable fate before a holy God. The short of this thrilling story is that Jesus cast away the demons and healed the man. The once called Legion became a new creature who sat at the feet and started listening to him teach. The demons that subjected him to slavery left and entered 2,000 pigs that got drowned into the sea. Ellen White observes that the scenario in these words: the people of the town had before them the living evidence of Christ's power and mercy. They saw the man who had been restored to reason, but they were fearful of endangering their earthly interests, that he would be vanquished, the prince of darkness, before their eyes, and was treated as an intruder. And the gift of heaven was turned from their doors. They pleaded him to leave the place. Just as the master was about to leave this town, the former demonic possessed, filled with excitement, to jump into Jesus' company and follow him wherever he goes. This is a great thing for anyone, to go with Jesus wherever he goes. But the turn of events in the account is strangely different. Let's turn our books to Mark 5, verse 18 and 19, which says, as Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demonic possessed begged to him, "Jesus, do not let me go." He said, "Go home." Then Jesus said, "Go home to your people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." Wow. We ask ourselves, why wouldn't Jesus opt to send a man away who experienced such a remarkable conversion and was ready to follow him every place he would touch? The answer is obvious. The man's testimony was going to be more impactful in the 10 towns where this man was once known as a slave to Satan's cruelty and torment. Going to Jesus meant that he would have crossed into the land of the Israelites, where his presence wouldn't really make a difference. What we later see is that the directive of God to this man really worked, and became a fruitful one. He did his assignment faithfully. His testimony flooded the whole region of Gerasim by the following time that Jesus arrived in the same region, the reception he had changed, probably because of the personal witness of this man who had been made whole. Mark chapter 6, verse 53 to 55 states, when they crossed over, they landed at the town and anchored there. As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout the whole region, carrying the sick on a mat. Wherever they heard, he was, and wherever they went, to villages, towns, or even in the countryside, they placed the sick in their marketplace. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. What a beautiful outcome. Indeed, when we testify of God's power in our lives, we shall touch others' lives with God. Surely, you can witness to others about the love of God and how much He has done for you in your life. Jesus is still saying today, go and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. Are you willing to go and tell them? May the Lord bless you this evening. Thank you.
I hope we were all blessed and got one or two things from the sermon. In closing, we'll have our theme song, "Oh, Let Me Walk With Thee."
We'll be singing 554 S.D.A. Oh, let me walk with thee.